In solo leveling, after the High Orc dungeon arc ended with Drippywoo gaining his strongest shadow yet, Jinwoo can be seen sitting at a cafe anxiously thinking that the moment of truth drew near. His fate would be determined by Drippywoo's decision, slapping his cheeks, telling himself to remember why he was doing this. My glorious king finally appeared, making Jinwoo ask what happened to his clothes. He responded saying he just came straight out of a dungeon, leaving Jinwoo in awe since he was still entering dungeons in order to train, saying he was amazing with immaculate glaze. He went on to say that he's been meaning to tell him something, as he then began to start his prolonged yap session. Though luckily, Drippywoo summarized that while he was negotiating with his father, Myunghwan showed up to snitch about what happened inside the Red Gate. Jinwoo confirmed it, saying he even told him about how he rescued the hunters of the White Tiger Guild. Drippywoo questioned why he'd go around spreading his business, reiterating to Jinwoo if he was saying that in order for him to become the master of the Yujin Guild, he needed his help. He jumped from his seat, shouting that he would let him have all the decision-making power, asking him not to feel pressured. But he looked serious, telling Jinwoo that he, with the scene ending with Jinwoo taking in a big gulp. At the Hunters Guild, Choi Jong-in shouted, asking if he was saying that Sung Dripwoo joined one of their raids, asking Sun Ki-hoon if he was really on the mining team the day before and that he carried the bags of the strike squad today. Ki-hoon responded saying he had no idea why, but he didn't think he had any intention of interfering with their raid. But seeing how the boss wasn't a regular magic beast and that the situation escalated to the point where they couldn't take care of the dungeon themselves, Drippywoo must have saw no other choice but to intervene. First, it was the White Tiger Guild, but now the Hunters Guild have become indebted to him as well, thinking that if he could summon multiple beasts, was as agile as an assassin-type hunter, and even had the ability to turn deceased monsters into one of his soldiers. If he was really that powerful, how strong would he say he was in comparison to him? Ki-hoon went on to explain that everyone during a raid is assigned a different role in order to achieve a balance. Each position complemented another's weakness. These roles could be divided into three main categories: attack, defense, and support. Without all three of these positions working together, the team would find themselves in danger. This was all pretty straightforward. But that hunter was extraordinary, asking Mr. Choi if he was capable of clearing an A-rank dungeon of the highest caliber all by himself. Shaking, he thought to himself that no matter how strong he was, it becomes difficult for him to defend himself once a horde of beasts attack him at once, telling Ki-hoon that probably not, saying that it looked like his title as the ultimate hunter had become an utter joke. Ki-hoon went on to say that he was in no position to tell him how to run his guild, but he must recruit Sung Jinwoo at all costs. In solo leveling, right before Drippywoo's rank evaluation, the clown known as Lee Min-sung stated that they had a pretty big turnout, though he didn't expect anything less. His manager then handed him a piece of paper saying it was tomorrow's headline, asking what he thought about it. The headline reading Lee Min-sung, the man who has it all, will soon possess superhuman powers, made him think it was a bit cheesy, but he didn't hate it. Two vehicles suddenly arrived, making the reporters question who it was. Baek Yoonho and Choi Jong-in stepped out of their vehicles, making Yoonho question what the hell these reporters were doing here. The reporters then asked the hunters if they came to the Hunters Association to recruit Min-sung, if they thought he would retire from his show business as a hunter representing Korea, and what rank they thought he would receive. Not knowing who the fuck they were talking about, Yoonho questioned if they were only here for a guy named Min-sung, telling the reporters that he wasn't here for that bum, so he had nothing to say. Guild leader Choi then told the reporters that Min-sung had already signed a contract with the Fiend Guild. It was common knowledge among the industry, saying that they were here for something else. This made the reporters look down in disappointment since they thought they had a scoop. Baek Yoonho, grinning, told Choi Jong-in that he heard that the Hunters Guild also had a close call yesterday, but he responded saying that at least they didn't lose an A rank like the White Tiger Guild, making Yoonho start fuming. Yoonho then said that it looked like both of their guilds received help from that hunter, making guild leader Choi say that if it wasn't for him, the elite hunters on the second-tier team would have been unalive, which is why they would very much like to recruit him into their guild, since it was the ethical thing to do. Yoonho, on the verge of crashing out, said that their guild suffered casualties, so it would make more sense for them to recruit him instead in order to enhance their forces. But Choi wasn't having none of it, asking why the White Tiger Guild would need an S rank to enhance their forces, questioning if he was trying to start a war. Another hunter arrived, surprised to see that both of them were here, asking if they were really really bickering over Min Sung right now, with his title card stating that he was the S-rank Lim Taegyu, the master of the Fiend Guild. Both hunters, asking what the fuck he was on about, shouted saying they didn't give a damn about Min Sung or whatever his name was, making Taegyu ask what was wrong with them. This dumbass sitting in his car smiled, saying that he couldn't believe that two of the country's best guilds were fighting over him. His manager went on to tell him that everything was ready to go, so they should go and start their interview. Thinking he was the MC, Min Sung smiled for the camera, as my glorious king stood behind the reporters questioning why there were so many people here. The chapter ended with the Fiend Guild title card reading that it was a guild active in the Seoul metropolitan area and was formerly the #1 guild in Korea before it fell in the rankings when the White Tiger Guild split off and rose to power. He asked himself if the press already knew what happened, but it was unlikely since none of them could recognize him, questioning how he was supposed to get inside the building. He attempted to squeeze himself through the crowd until another dumbass stood in front of him, asking who the hell he was and if he worked for the association. Min Sung's manager told him that he couldn't just walk past the reporters, saying that right now the entrance was blocked, telling him to go back. But Drippy Woo responded saying he had an appointment, as Min Sung stood in the back asking who was that M-word, saying he wished security would just kick him out. The manager in anger told Drippy Woo to go away since he wasn't allowed to pass through, until a man suddenly appeared asking who told him that he wasn't allowed through here. That man being none other than the chairman of the Hunter Association, saying that that young man happened to be his guest. The chairman then told Min Sung that he trusted he remembered who gave him permission to hold a press conference here, making him stutter like a bum while saying, "Of course." As he then took Drippy Woo inside, the reporters started questioning who was that guy for the chairman of the Hunter Association to walk him inside, making Min Sung grit his teeth, asking how dare he ruin his show. He then told his manager to find out how that guy knew the chairman, since he wanted to know just how great he was. Questioning how he would get back in the spotlight, he thought to himself that he would just skip ahead and get started with the evaluation. He then told the reporters he would be back after discussing today's schedule with the officials at the association. But suddenly multiple men stepped in front of him, making the bum ask what was going on this time. Woo Jinchul replied, saying that another hunter was currently undergoing a re-evaluation, and until it was over at 11 o'clock, no one would be allowed inside the building. This dumbass with hearing problems asked him what he said, questioning if he would really need to wait a whole 30 minutes, asking if the other hunter he was referring to was the guy who was just escorted inside the building by the chairman. Min Sung in frustration told Jinchul that the reporters were already here and his evaluation was scheduled for 11 o'clock. Even the chairman knew about this, but he still wouldn't let him in. He then whispered to him, telling him he was the one and only Lee Min Sung, but he didn't give a fuck, saying he could only enter the building at 11 when his evaluation begun. He began yapping, saying he was Yujin Construction Vice President's son, blah blah blah, saying he should be on his knees right now. How dare he treat him like this in front of the cameras, asking if he was sure he could handle the consequences. Chad Chul simply replied saying yes, making Min Sung start yelling, asking who he thought he was and if there was something special about that hunter. Jin Chul, taking off his glasses, responded saying that if he answered his question, would he be able to handle the consequences, causing his dumbass to shudder in fear. Drippy Woo walked alongside the chairman, going toward the evaluation room as both Baek Yoon-ho and Choi Jong-un bowed before my glorious king. The chairman then said that those two waited over an hour for him to arrive. It had been over 2 years since the last S-rank appeared, and since the Hunters Guild already witnessed his strength, they must be dying for him to join their guild. The evaluator welcomed Drippy Woo, saying that before they began the re-evaluation, they would check his skill set in order to categorize him into a class, asking him what kind of skills he was able to use. He responded saying he could do stuff like that, shocking the evaluator as he stood next to one of his weakest soldiers. The evaluator didn't know he was capable of summoning beasts, but the chairman smiled, saying that wasn't all he could summon. This made Drippy Woo think that there was no use in lying, since so many people had already seen him in action, and he recently made a bunch of shadow soldiers out of high orcs, so he would just show them. He then summoned multiple soldiers out of the abyss, terrifying the absolute shit out of the chairman, Yoon-ho and Choi. Having summoned his most powerful shadows as he stood there aura farming, he explained that he could still summon about 100 more, making the evaluator think that it was impossible. Yoon-ho, in utter terror, thought to himself that he had insane magic capabilities, thinking that he wasn't this strong the last time he saw him. The difference was astounding. And as he walked outside with his brand new hunter's license, Yoon Junho felt that he was completely overpowered by his strength. With his license stating he was an S rank, Junho asked Drippywoo if he could have a moment of his time, but he apologized, saying he still had some unfinished business he's been meaning to attend to. But seeing where he was walking toward, Junho told him that he wouldn't go that way if it were him, though that only made him think that they only said that because he would regret leaving since they were about to make him a really good offer. But as soon as he stepped out of the door, hundreds of cameras came out of nowhere taking pictures, making Drippywoo question what the hell was going on, with Junho's face basically reading, "I told you so." In solo leveling, after my glorious king received his rank evaluation, hundreds of reporters appeared out of nowhere, prompting Songyi to tell Gina that her brother was on TV. Taken aback, she responded asking what the hell she was talking about and why her brother would be on TV. 10 minutes ago at the Hunter Association, this attention-seeking dumbass stated that even if he ended up receiving a low rank, he would still help in the fight against the magic beasts, promising he would be a hunter serving the people in order to repay the love and support his fans have given him. This announcement caused an uproar among the reporters, questioning if he was saying he was going to throw away his title as Asia's biggest star to become a hunter, even if he received a low rank. This MF, giggling in his mind, told them to keep paying attention to the one and only Lee Min-sung, since the greatest movie star in Asia was announcing his retirement. But of course it was all a big fat lie, since he was already evaluated to be an A rank, and for just 2 years he was going to be paid millions to promote the Fiend Guild, which would put to rest any rumors about him, turning public attention away from the issue of his mandatory military service. Everyone would be in awe of how he gave up fame and fortune to put his life on the line in order to protect the citizens of this country. It was a pretty convincing story if he'd say so himself. The clown went on to state that he would like to thank Mr. Lim Taegyu, the master of the Fiend Guild, for inviting him, but a reporter suddenly received some crucial information about an S rank, as other reporters began to receive that same piece of intel, causing an uproar. The reporters, talking amongst themselves, stated that South Korea's 10th S rank had been revealed, confusing the absolute shit out of Min-sung. A reporter shouted, saying that the association's website had been updated, with Drippywoo's name and rank being displayed on the screen. The reporters, in a complete frenzy, thought to themselves that the association must have not closed the evaluation center because of the clown Min-sung, but because of the S rank. As they suddenly attempted to storm the building, saying they couldn't miss the birth of a new S rank, the surveillance team came out of nowhere, blocking them off, making the reporters ask them to let them in and why they weren't notified of this in advance. Sitting on the floor looking all stupid, he asked himself why an S rank had to appear today out of all days. And as he was trying to tell a reporter something, he said he would just give him a call later in urgency, telling whoever was on the other side of the phone to plaster every headline tomorrow with, "From a loser to a hero, the remarkable rise of an E-rank hunter to an S rank," making poor little Min-sung question what the hell just happened. Seeing someone he knew, the leader of the Hunters Guild's mining team told the other miners that Drippywoo was on the news, making this MF start yapping, saying that he knew it from the moment he glared at him, asking what kind of heinous crimes that S-word committed. The other miners started to gather as it was reported that Korea's 10th S-rank Sung Jinwoo had just been revealed, making the MF tremble in fear with his life flashing before his eyes.